We will be able to hear from representatives of organizations active in various ways to support refugees who are trying to seek asylum in Australia, and they can outline to us a number of options for those who wish to help in one way or another to make a difference. Australia contravenes international laws by keeping more than 2,000 refugees and asylum seekers languishing in camps in Nauru and Manus Island. More than 1,300 are detained in Australia. Almost 25,000 live on temporary bridging visas in the community with no certainty of future in Australia. Speaker for tonight, Tim O'Connor, from the Refugee Council of Australia.
Tim will speak on behalf of the Refugee Council, who's an umbrella body that gives recommendation to the government for improving support and services for the refugees and asylum seekers. Tim, thank you for coming.
At the heart of Australia and the way we approach immigration, and particularly refugees and asylum seekers, is a schizophrenia. We are recognised around the world as being amongst the very best in resettling refugees, but our refugee resettlement program is tiny. We have government support that goes to recognised refugees who come through the UNHCR or increasingly through family connections in Australia. Less and less are coming through the UNHCR. They come here, they're met off the plane, they're taken to a house which they get for a short amount of time, they get access to healthcare and English lessons, 510 hours, and they can send their children to school and access to work and retraining, employment, which is vastly different to the discriminatory approach which our government takes towards people who seek asylum, particularly those who come by boat. So we've seen laws drafted which are discriminatory, the Australian Border Force Act, which says that anyone who reports what they see in Nauru and Manus, reports back to the Australian community or the Australian media or anyone in Australia, they can be liable for 2 years in jail. And this is Australia. It's absolutely insane the position we've got ourselves in here. The manner in which we are treating vulnerable people, some of the most vulnerable people in the world, and continually the focus, particularly of the media, is on the situation in Nauru and Manus. Those camps are incredibly secretive. Again, they operate in a legal grey zone, sort of a model that was really developed by Halliburton when the Iraq War was on, where they're contracted out to private services who operate completely without any oversight or accountability. And egregious abuse has happened. People have been killed. Murders have occurred. No one has been brought to justice. Sexual abuse. There's more than 37 cases of child sexual abuse have been reported on Nauru. We're paying for this. Our taxes are paying for this to occur. We are paying these companies to carry it out and then to cover up these sorts of sexual abuse. At the moment in Australia, we have a Royal Commission into institutional child sexual abuse. And rightfully, it's looking at the abuse of institutions like the Catholic Church, other churches and other institutions. But we have an institution, the Department of Immigration and Border Protection, which right now, today, is covering up child sexual abuse on Nauru. We are funding this happening. And it cannot go on. It's only the Australian people coming together and standing up which can change it. Because it's not the Australia I know. And this is not the Australia we want to live in. It's not the Australia I want to bring my children up in. There has to be a better way. And we need to change it. And at the moment we've got a bipartisan commitment to carrying on what is happening in Nauru and Manus. The two major parties are in lockstep on how they continue to carry out this egregious abuse. And it's only us that can change it.
So now we're going to show just a trailer to Chasing Asylum, which is an extraordinary documentary of the Australian filmmaker Eva Horner. It's shot in secret in Nauru and Manus Island for those who haven't seen it. It's of course in detention centres, and it's shocking, but it's really well worth watching. So here it is, hopefully.
detention centre. I didn't know that people have already been there for over 400, 500 days. There was sickness, disease, infections. It feels militarised.
If you come to Australia illegally by boat, there is no way you will ever make Australia home.
You go from looking after people to saying, if you come here, we're going to make it worse for you than if you'd stayed where you came from.
Staff would have to be trained how to use the Hoffman's knife. The knife used to cut people down when they're found hanging.
I have to forget my dreams here.
Children have to be in detention according to the government's policies because it's part of the deterrence.
They're growing up on white phosphate rock in mouldy, damp tents where they have no privacy and no space. You'll have clients say to you, please come back, please don't forget about us, please don't leave us here.
اللي كنت اسمع عن استراليا انه بلد امينه وبلد انسانيه انه بتحب الانسان كثير وبتحب اللاجئين كثير.
So one of the aims, objectives of our global campaign is to actually prevent some of the Australian government's abusive practices, such as outsourcing abuse to companies, is to actually prevent that from being repeated by other governments around the world. But to let you know that there are people, millions of people all around the world, all trying to stand side by side by people who are coming seeking protection as refugees. The other quick thing is we had our senior researcher go to Nauru last year in July. She spent a week there. She interviewed 58 people there, including children and including several children who had tried to harm themselves because they were so distressed. There were mothers, fathers, people from all sorts of backgrounds there who were just desperate to get out and who were subjected to daily conditions that we have found amount to torture under international law. And as Tim said before, you know, this is our government. So that's one of the things that Amnesty can do, is to really shine the spotlight on the problem. You know, when the problem is so bad it's being surrounded by secrecy, when the government is trying to criminalise people from speaking out, when the government signs contractors with companies where employees will get sacked if they speak out. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Min. That was quite moving, actually. We would like to show another trailer. This time is Cast from the Storm, which is the story of a group of adolescent refugees from various parts of the world that use theatre as psychotherapy to get over the trauma of their experience. So here it is.
We're going to hear some more storm stories. Remember what the storms are? They're the stories that made you refugees. It's too much to say, eh?
All her friends died.
How did they die?
Bomb and all her friends exploded.
This was a class in Iraq?
All the school.
The whole school?
Yeah.
The community don't believe that something terrible has indeed happened to them.
I'm late, so come on. How are you? Haven't been expelled or suspended or anything?
No.
The strange miracle is that something changes when you tell your story.
My mom said if we die here, if we die in the boat, it's the same. So we will die together or live together.
That's why I think you're so brave. I couldn't be you.
The shell from American plane hit our neighbor's house. Could have been us so easily.
Our goal isn't to make them good actors, it's to make them grow as people.
To show Australians how lucky they are.
We're in the theatre next week. He really must come, otherwise he's going to be so nervous.
Walid, you coming on Sunday?
Ma'am, sorry. Who cares?
Who cares? So hard if they have no idea where it's all leading to.
But you looked at each other, and that was the last time you saw him.
Maybe the true stories, it's better than the fake stories.
I owe my life to you guys as well.
Don't forget us.
What's love? Is love something you just sort of give off to the ones who deserve it? We don't deserve it.
This intervention could be the thing that takes them on a path to a healthy future.
Mark is from Refugee Action Coalition. That is an open grassroots coalition from a broad section of the community campaigning for the rights of refugees in Australia since 1999. It opposes mandatory detention and offshore processing and campaigns for refugees to be welcome in Australia. REC mounts public rallies and organizes information stalls and public forums on refugee issues. Mark Goudkamp, please.
I actually want to start by putting on my other hat, which is Teachers for Refugees, which we only founded about 1.5 years ago. So I guess I was one of the founders in Sydney of that. And what you just saw there, I teach in those environments in the intensive English centres in Sydney. There's 12 of them across Sydney for newly arrived migrants, refugees and international student teenagers. During Refugee Week, we are again in New South Wales going to have a week of action where we wear our T-shirts, Teachers for Refugees, with close the camps and bring them here on the back, which last time sent the Murdoch press into a frenzy and led to Malcolm Turnbull calling what we were doing absolutely inappropriate. As Claudio said, we formed in 1999, inspired by what some of the refugees had been doing in Woomera and Port Hedland and other detention centres. You know, in Woomera in 1999, a group of them broke out, not to escape and to disappear, but just to basically tell the Australian community that they existed because they were out there in the middle of the desert and almost no one knew about it. And then there were the hunger strikes, the sewing of lips together, and we decided to form. And that was, you know, in the lead up as well to the Sydney Olympics when the world's cameras were going to be on this country. And I guess we have seen John Howard and Philip Ruddock and Amanda Vanstone come and go. The Rudd-Gillard-Rudd governments come and go. And now, you know, Tony Abbott and, of course, Malcolm Turnbull. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of unfinished business, as the other people have said. Just the last thing, I guess, too, because this is a Federation of Italian Migrant Workers, another thing that's sort of tangentially related is Malcolm Turnbull and Peter Dutton's recent attack on migrant workers, making it much more difficult for people to get permanent residency who are on temporary work visas and cutting back the number of jobs on the skilled occupation list. I'm part of circulating an open letter, a sign-on letter on the internet about that as well. So if you want to add your name to that, you can come and see me about that as well. Thanks.
The Grandmothers Group was established, first of all, in Melbourne in 2014, and then the New South Wales Group was established the following year by Gabby Judd. And our mission is to achieve the freedom of all children in detention. The current figures are 49 children in detention on Nauru and about 145 in the community on Nauru on temporary visas. So our mission will not be complete until every child is removed from detention. We will also advocate for a better future for the children who have been released into the community. It is very well known that the experience of children in detention is very deleterious to their health and mental well-being, so that even when they are released into the community, they still have a lot of needs from support. And we know that from our experience that children need a safe and protected environment. We insist that these children have access to opportunities and rights enjoyed by our grandchildren. So we are grandmothers who have become activists. That's our big... in order to protect and rescue children at risk. And we hold vigils, and you are welcome to join us at these vigils.
I'm an ordinary grandmother, and to put it simply, I can not look my grandchildren in the eye if I do not protest the locking up of others' innocent grandchildren in my name.
Now the next is people just like us. Fabia Claridge will tell us about the organization, and well, people like us. Come. Let me say something. Who you are? And people like us use stories of refugee lives, experiences, and journeys to convey to the general public that asylum seekers and refugees are just people seeking safety and refuge. People just like us. Fabia.
Thank you, Claudia. I have two things to say that is in summary of what I'm about to say. One is, please sign and circulate the pledge for refugees.org.au. There's a website, you go into your phone or your computer, you sign the pledge, pledge for refugees.org.au. If everybody in Australia signed this, the local football club, the local knitting group, politicians would sit up and take notice. It's not just, we've got to go up beyond the refugee movement into the actual tentacles of our communities. The second thing I want to say is related to that, which is the time has come really for us to work. We all know the situation's dire, but what are we going to do about it? We really, really have to get active in our own communities. What if a posse of constituents repeatedly went to visit the politicians? I'd like to echo what Tim of the Refugee Council said here. We have to really rattle their cages in the electorates. We have to really put a lot of agitate in the electorates in every way possible, including having the difficult conversations with our MPs.
Thank you. Mothers for Refugees.
Yes. Hi. So,
a network.
Yes, we are.
A network of mums campaigning for closure of detention camps and humane treatment of refugees.
Exactly, girl said. Thank you. So I have 3 minutes. So we are the typical Australians, according to the census. We are married, we have kids, and we have 2 cars. That means we are very powerful, and we know it. So we are 2,000 moms around Australia that work actively. We have 30,000 followers in social media. We work with a lot of you. We work with grandmothers. We work with pro bono law firms. We work with every single one of you, and we want to create a better Australian for our kids. We want to be proud, and we want to teach them the power of their voice. So we have worked with Teachers for Refugees. They're close friends of ours. So if you're a mom and you want to change this awful situation, please reach to us. We are on Facebook, and we have a web page, and we do campaign in a very active way. We have direct advocacy, and my direct advocacy is over there, is Leonie, and she's amazing. And she does visitations to detention centers, and she cares for families, and she trains moms. We do social media campaigns. We do material aid, immediate material aid. It means when people are released in community, we help them build their lives with dignity and support. And we have amazing lawyers in our membership, like Alison Pattison, who is one of the major human rights lawyers in Australia. So we are very active, we are powerful, and we believe that we are building the world with the words we use. So the future should be proud, should be feminist, should be welcoming, and this is the way we start. So thank you very much. Great to us.
Now we have Luigi, who has come up with an interesting concept, very modern compared to all the others. It's an app, and it really brings together established Australians and refugees. So the idea is that you combine the two people and go for a walk. Very simple, but quite effective. Luigi.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, which means everyone in the room at this stage, my name is Luigi, and the reason why I'm here tonight is because I do run a non-for-profit organization with a few other people called One Step. And what we do with One Step, it's, as Silvia mentioned, it's a pretty simple ideas. We simply organize walks with established Australian or locals, if you prefer, and Australian refugees. Compared to all the amazing organizations here tonight, you do, I think it's a kind of different. We try to have a lightweight approach to what we do. But so the way we do structure our walks is pretty simple. We are in touch with lots of organizations like MDSI or Navitas in Fairfield. And what we do, they help us to get in touch with refugees. So once you're in touch with them, we schedule a walk for one day at one time, and we provide the transport for them. And so when we gather all there, and then we just match people up in group, 5, 6 people, and they just go for a walk. Everything reduced to a very simple human interactions. And we've been doing this for a few months now, and we are actually getting amazing feedback. Everyone seems like is enjoying that a lot. We've just done one today. I came back from the botanical garden. We had 30 refugees from the Fairfield, Navitas in Fairfield, and 30 people from Digital CBA. And there were 60 of them, and they had a blast. And that's what resonates with people, and that's what our walk are all about. We just bring people along, they have a walk, and they talk about everything and anything, because that resonates with them. We have people that they bring their children, their parents, their grandparents. It's all just a group of people just walking and having fun. So this is what we do. And again, it's just an hour of people time, an hour and a half. It's not like a long commitment, it's just an hour of people's time who can mean a lot for everyone. Most of people think it's just one way, like, oh, you know, I'm just going to help refugees, but every time it comes out, it's actually both ways. Both, you know, locals and refugees, they get something out of that. So this is what we do, and we don't have a flyer or anything, because we're trying to be tech. So you can sign up on our website, onestepwalks.org. You can sign up for a walk, and we'll let you know when our next walk is. This is what we do, and this is what One Step is all about. Thank you.
So our volunteer program in Villawood focuses on asylum seekers in detention and asylum seekers released in the community. In the last 6 years, between 40 and 50 members of the Vanelio Daniel De Simoni Association have been working in different capacities with asylum seekers and refugees. Our members have been regularly visiting detainees in Villawood in low, medium and high security, and in prisons, Silverwater, Bathurst and Goulburn, and asylum seekers released in the community, helping them to find their way back to a normal life outside the detention centre. Also, our members have been working as volunteers in the Asylum Seekers Center in Newtown, preparing, serving, and having lunches once a month with asylum seekers living in the community. And if you are interested in helping preparing hot lunches with us at the Asylum Seekers Center, please talk to our project coordinator, Mariella Totaro, at the end of the meeting. Mariella there. At Villawood, we take food, drinks, reading materials, writing materials, and DVDs, which are not otherwise available within the detention center. We provide phone cards so detainees can keep in touch with their families in their home countries. We sometimes write letters, find pro bono lawyers, psychologists. In short, we do whatever is possible, necessary, and sometimes urgent for them. Along with this, we also visit people recently released in the community. There have been social activities with ex-detainees, such picnics, attending weddings and christenings, restaurant outings, visit to the zoo, and tours of Sydney. We feel that maintaining our special friendships with ex-detainees, when possible, is important. Friendship is vital for people who are foreign to this country, hardly speak the language, have survived terrible traumas in their home country, and are experiencing further traumas here in Australia, where instead of being accepted and recognized as asylum seekers, they are thrown first in detention centers, and if and when released, they are not guaranteed a permanent visa, and they are not sure if they will be returned to the countries they were fleeing from. Also, these special friendships have been important for members of our association as well. These have been and are enriching, long-lasting experiences, reinforcing our political view about the necessity to right the unjust treatment of asylum seekers in Australia, showing the wisdom of assumption that only fear, selfishness, and ignorance keep us separated and make the others the enemy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vittoria. Just now, like a few words about the situation in Italy. Compared with Australia, where this government is prepared to contravene the international law and the basic principles of human rights, to detain or reject a few thousand only of asylum seekers and refugees, as many as those and them are saved in only one day from drowning in the Mediterranean. Italy and the Italians have to deal with tens of thousands at a time. Of course, populist and anti-immigration parties and groups are active also in Italy, but in general, institutions and common people in Italy are, in my view, a great example of humanity and tolerance. Last Sunday, in Milan, as many as 100,000 took part in an anti-racist march to say no to walls and to division, and to say yes to integration. Many local councils in Italy run programs to welcome and support refugees, encouraging families to support and give hospitality to refugees, especially unaccompanied minors. One example is the municipality of Modena and their program Welcome Home, which promotes integration through innovative forms of hospitality in local families. Among the participants to that program are our historic Filef members, Pierina and Edoardo. who went back to Italy after several years in Australia and now have adopted temporarily an unaccompanied minor, an Afghan boy of 17. And I would like to read a brief message from them as a contribution to tonight's gathering. Here is what they say. The welcome word combines the word welcome and home. Welcome home. This is what we should say to the many who seek refuge in our country, escaping from war, persecution and misery, without hypocritical distinctions between refugees and economic migrants. We, as a family hosting an unaccompanied minor, are part of one of many forms of hospitality existing in Italy, but they don't get to the news. Our contribution is a drop in the ocean, but many drops, in fact, can become an ocean. For a migrant, this experience in a family is a great help to integration and social cohesion, but also it has a great potential of enrichment for the families who make this choice. Congratulations for your work, dear friends and supporters of Filef, the Federation of Italian Migrant Workers in Sydney. The theme of forced migration in this international context is and will remain at the center of our attention. Pierina and Edoardo.
Allora, ieri la legge che tutela i minori che arrivano non accompagnati nel nostro paese. 1000 storie come quella di Adi, 17enne afghano affidato ad una coppia di Modena, spera in un futuro nel nostro paese. L'inviata Carlotta Manno.
Una persona che va via per la guerra, comunque ero disponibile ad accoglierla.
Quando Pier Edoardo, 65-69 anni, modenesi, sono venuti a conoscenza della possibilità di chiedere in affido Hadi, 17 anni afghano, non ci hanno pensato due volte. Da 2 mesi vivono insieme, una storia, quella di Hadi, che ricorda la loro.
Quel viaggio io l'ho fatto negli anni 70 nella direzione opposta. Sono andato da Modena, sono arrivato in Australia attraversando gli stessi paesi.
Lui però ha fatto un viaggio terribile.
Ha detto che ha fatto una trentina di ore sotto un camion.
Per arrivare in Italia?
Per arrivare in Italia. Ha dovuto venire via perché è una minoranza perseguitata dai talebani.
La cosa che l'ha colpita di più di Hadi.
Conosceva tantissime parole, ma conosceva la parola morte. Ho detto, capito cosa vuol dire?
Poi tira in porta! Cosa significa per voi l'arrivo di questo ragazzo?
La vita con un'altra persona è un po' più completa.
Hadi ci mostra le foto della sua famiglia, mamma e 4 fratelli rimasti in Afghanistan. A Modena frequenterà una scuola professionale per tornitori e intanto impara l'italiano. E questo invece è il tuo quaderno d'italiano?
Sì.
Parole che conosci?
Sì, no, poco, caldo, freddo, casa, famiglia.
Piera e Edoardo saranno la sua famiglia, almeno fino all'anno prossimo, poi si vedrà. Le piacerebbe adottarlo?
Per adesso non ci pensiamo.
Sto facendo la nonna.